Thank you guys for making it. Sorry I had to reschedule from last week. We had some stuff going on also. I think it was last week was a lot. The last 2 weeks, as you guys know, I'm the public works director for the town of Grand Lake, and we've had a lot of snow to move and a lot of events and a lot just to get done. Welcome any questions you guys have, but originally when Donna asked me to do this, I don't think she realized what Ashley's family and our family are in Grand County. So I'm going to start with a little bit just about me, kind of, because that's how this all started. Obviously, you can see my name in Matthew Reed Tolonen. Reed is my mom. That's how everybody knows me. Tolonen is my dad. My dad lives in Oregon. I have one real sister out there and 3 stepsisters. My dad remarried in '94, so they have all been around since then, and a little well before in my family, in my world. My family, my dad's family moved here from Finland. I should say my dad's dad moved here from Finland. Well, actually he was born here. My great-grandfather moved here in 1904 from Finland to escape being in the Russian military to fight the war with Japan. He moved in 1904, left his wife and 4 kids in Finland, and then in 1905, after working in Astoria and Alaska, saved enough money to move his wife and 4 kids over from Finland. At which point he proceeded to have 6 more kids in Astoria, Oregon. So my grandfather, Paul, Cason's middle name, was the 10th. He was the youngest of the 10 kids. In 1925, they started the Columbia River Boat Building Company. So in Astoria, Oregon, they built fishing boats, all wood fishing boats on the river. The piers are still there. The building's gone, but the piers are still there. We go there, went there last spring break, in fact, even to check them out. But my family grew up, my dad grew up in Astoria. I don't know as much about my mom, so she might have to fill us in. But, so where Goonies was filmed, Free Willy was filmed, Kindergarten Cop was filmed there. My dad went to school where Kindergarten Cop was actually filmed in Astoria. And out there with my step family, we have a beach house in Long Beach, Washington that was built in 1907. It's on the coast. It's the longest continuous beach in the world. You can actually drive on it. It's Long Beach, Washington. It's about 30 minutes from Astoria. And we'd cross this bridge all the time going there as a kid. We call it the Colorado River. Well, it's the Colorado River, and we have other rivers around here. The Astoria Bridge, the bridge in Astoria is 5 miles across, just the river. That's where the Columbia meets the Pacific Ocean. It's 5 miles across. And it's the bridge that's in Free Willy, if you've seen that movie. So we'd go up there all the time as kids and other places around the Oregon area. I grew up ski racing on Mount Hood with mom, and had a stepdad. His name was Larry, and we got to Colorado because he was selected as one of the top 2 log home builders in the nation. He was originally slated to build 2 homes in Aspen for an oil sheik, and mom would have to elaborate, but that ended up falling apart. But in the process, mom came to Grand Lake without us, fell in love with Grand Lake.
I came with your sister.
Okay, without me. Fell in love with Grand Lake, bought a house at 912 Columbine Drive, and we moved here in November of 1996. Against my will, for sure. I was not looking to move, but it was obviously a really great thing. Went through middle school and high school here, graduated in 2002. That would probably be where I should start the slideshow, I'm guessing. So that was me in Sandy, Oregon, is where I was actually born in Portland, Oregon, and then we lived in Sandy. That's my sister Whitney. Is this thing still working?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my sister Whitney, obviously my mom Michaeline, and myself. I was asked last minute to put some stuff about Marv in here. So this would have been 2003, right after I graduated high school. I was working for Lori Crane at Spirit Lake Polaris, and Marv had become a major piece of my life growing up, loving snowmobiles and everything else. On the Thursday crew, on the left picture, we had the pink panties. So at lunchtime, whoever got stuck the most got the pink panties. Being that I was the youngest, I wore them a lot. And the other guy that wore them probably, maybe almost as much, was Steve Penley from Penley Concrete and Caisson Drilling, if you know Steve. He wore them a whole bunch too. It was very rare he finished a day with us though. One day he went through 3 snowmobiles. We would just go back and get another one. This is Marv up on the left, or on the right in this picture. And then obviously myself and Scott Zweifels in the back over here. He's the one working with Jim. There's another picture of Scott. I told him to be here tonight too. So everybody sees Scott Zweifel driving around town on the left. There he's leading the way. He is working for Jim Kreutzer, kind of his project manager around town. And then myself and Marv and Stu, which is Marv's best friend. He lives over in Fraser still. Marv again, the whole Thursday crew of the pictures there. Yeah, I don't know why this thing's cutting out.
Would you like to stand to hold that?
Yeah, I can stand. Oh, well, no, it's cutting even. Okay, so the last picture of Marv, this was about a month before he passed away in Florida. So this is how I wanted everybody to remember Marv. All right, back to me for a second. I owned an excavating business up here after working for the Stanleys, and a snow removal business. The name of that was We Can Dig It Excavating. I started grooming snow. This is actually in a 1947 Tucker Snowcat that Mountain Parks Electric has. But I started grooming snow for the Grand Lake Trail Groomers with Kevin Pelini before he passed away, obviously, probably in about 2000, and then did that for 10 years in the evenings. I don't know if that's going to work, but then I got into racing, a little bit of everything. This was the first hill climb I did. I raced hill climb around the nation, or well, really the central Rocky Mountains here for 3 years. This one was actually in, it was Bear Lake was the name of it. It's at Mont Polaire, Idaho, was this race. So I did that for 3 years. And this was in Crested Butte at the Ultimate Snowmobiler. I never won the Ultimate Snowmobiler, but my buddy Wes did. During this time, I got the opportunity to help a lot of my friends. This one in particular, this day, was helping Scott Turian. And he had got that moose up on 125, and I had to drive my skid steer 2 miles up the river to get it out. And that's after we got it out. That's how we carried the whole thing out. Just like that, and I put it in the back of his truck. And that's still, to this day, how I gather my animals after I get them. We still have elk in the freezer every day, and that's our primary protein at our house. So but I refuse to pack them out now. So, actually, even out at Highlandmans who are here with your dad, I'd use the tractor and hold them up from the tractor and stuff. So that's where I got a lot of elk out there at the Highlandmans place. My first archery bull was out there, and cows, and so I always used the tractor there. I raced side-by-sides for a while too, and always liked being outside. I slalom skied a lot with Steve Paul on the lake. We'd water ski when I worked at the marina. We'd water ski every morning at 7 o'clock, an hour before I had to start work. He'd pick me up and we'd go both get a pull around the lake, and then I'd go to work and spend the rest of the day down there. I worked for Kevin at Grand Lake Marina from 98 to 2003, I think is what it was. But I have a lot of really good friends down there still. Ashley and I got married, kind of out of order a little bit here, but we met in 2008 and we got married when Emery was about 6 months old. I think there's a picture of that in here too. We got married out at Winding River Ranch. Travis was our officiant. I think we were the only wedding he actually was the officiant of out there. And he didn't know how to sign the wedding certificate, so we had him, Elder Glenn Travis Bussey was how we had him sign it, and it was a pretty awesome day. When he said Emery was about 6 months old. The left photo is our wedding. The photo on the right was when my sister got married. She got married at a climbing hut on Mount Hood called Silcox Hut. It's the highest structure on Mount Hood. It's a whole climbing hut. It was a snowcat ride up there in February, and a pretty windy, snowy night. So obviously, my mom, Michaeline, on the left that everybody knows, my dad, Bruce, and my stepmom, Debbie, are in there, as well as my sister, Whitney. So we bought property in 16. We got engaged the day we closed on it, on the property. After a year and a half of planning, we were able to build a house. I don't have as many pictures as I should, but we built a 4,000 square foot log home. Took 18 months. We worked on it every day. Even the countertops around this sink that we bought at the Flag for Life poker run, that was last weekend. Even the concrete countertops we poured. We had one Christmas there. Some more of the countertops and Emery helping work on it even. Tying rebar, we did everything on that house. And then everybody knows that day. Affected a lot of people. It affected a lot of people. It was a hard time in the world during that time, but I can tell you, it really helped renew our faith in humanity as a whole. There are incredible people in this community. And this is what we have now. Well, this was kind of a building process. The grass was a day that Paul Harrington had a little bit left over from a project he was working on over at Broderick's house. And he showed up with 400 square feet of grass. He was doing all of our landscaping anyhow, all of our irrigation and everything he did. So he showed up with 400 square feet of grass and laid it. We came home and that was the first green thing on our property. If any of you have been by our house now, you know we have a lot of grass. We have about 40,000 square feet of grass that I mow once a week. It takes about 4 hours to weed eat, mow, ride a lawn mow, and it takes a lot. But this is why. This is Emery with some of her friends. This was actually at her first sleepover. Some of you guys would know Paul McDonald, from Sky Crane Ltd and Marilee. His daughter, this is Marilee's daughter with Emery. That was their first, both those girls' first sleepover. More snowmobiling, so snowmobiling's kind of gotten pushed out of Grand Lake a little bit in the last several years, and myself and the board and everybody with the town are working really hard to bring it back and make us the snowmobile capital of Colorado again. And I think last weekend was a testament to that. I don't know if there was a kid's snowmobile in Colorado that wasn't out there. This was the first year of it, and the other one on the left was actually at the Veterans Ride, and we was riding around on her sled there. And she won this race, won all 3 races back to back on the right, and then in the 120 class again this year, she won all 3 races back to back. So. This was spring break. We went out to Oregon. We stayed this wasn't our beach house. This was another beach house we rented on the way up from Depot Bay to Long Beach. And this was one of the first pictures probably with all 4 of us in it. As you can see, Kaysen was pretty young, and Emery was missing her front teeth, which we had at Christmas, so she got those in. This is our house now. One of the pictures, there's a few more. Like I said, it really helped to renew our faith in humanity. We were in December 8th, or December 10th, the following year. So we built that house in 8 months and 6 days, I want to say, which is pretty incredible. As Greg knows, that doesn't happen up here very often.
No, I've never done it.
So, those houses are a little bit nicer, but this, I mean, it was an incredible effort from everybody, and we called in every favor around. I sit on the board for Headwater Trails Alliance, 3 Lakes Water and Sanitation, which I was going to talk about some good news on that. Grand Lake Trail Groomers Board of Directors. You know, I do a lot, we give a lot back. We called in every favor there was for that house. Emery is in 2nd grade this year. That was her first day of 2nd grade. Not a very good picture on the right, but I think I was looking at Kaysen's face and not her face in that one, trying to get the best one of him. Like I said, we like to be outside, and we like our yard. That's camping in our yard this last summer, and kind of what it looks like on an everyday basis. We are across the street from the golf course, but sometimes they say that it looks better. We're on the 4th fairway, and our neighbors say it looks better than the 4th fairway. More about Grand Lake here. So, it's been kind of my goal or dream for Emery to be like one of the Grand Lake kids. And this summer that really came out. She's old enough now, she's in 2nd grade, and I think Evie, who's pictured here, in probably the #1 picture we have as a friend, we have at Troublesome Fest. The middle one was the daddy-daughter dance a couple weeks ago. Emery and I and Mike and Evie went to the Rapids for dinner and then went to the dance all together. And then some more of just Grand Lake kids climbing the rocks down there at the beach. So that's been pretty important to me. More snowmobiling pictures. Emery got a new 200 this summer, and Kaysen is now on her first snowmobile that she got when she was 9 months old. So those were the only things that survived the fire for us, were the snowmobiles. They were in this trailer I hooked up to. I was over at Travis Bussey's dropping off a trailer from trying to help some other friends evacuate when I got the mandatory evacuation notice. 14 minutes later, I got the pre-evac notice. 14 minutes later, I got the mandatory evac notice when I was hooking up the snowmobile trailer. I was actually going to unload the sleds and put other stuff in the trailer, but Ashley was not happy that I was still there. And so our snowmobiles were the only thing that made it. And a lot of my best friends and friendships I've had growing up. Oh, your draft, I made it to, because it was next to it was hooked to your car seat. Like the Everleys, and a lot of my best friends are all snowmobile related at this point. Pretty much everybody that was my groomsmen from Mark Jolstead, all these people I met snowmobile. So it's really all through Marv and the Thursday crew, essentially. It's, I hope we can reestablish that title here because the people that it brings, like just the families out snowmobile racing, it's incredible. I didn't crop those very good. We got to go on a Disney cruise a little while ago. I'm trying to do another one. But Emery got to meet all of her favorite princesses and even got to tell Cinderella that was Ashley's favorite princess. Or is. What's that?
That was our first family vacation after building both houses back to back.
Yeah. So we were in the log house for 11 months after 18 months of every day. And then this was our first family vacation while had we built the new house? So after building both houses. More snowmobiling, even our elf. Emery's elf, his name is Elfie. Every year when he shows up, he rides a snowmobile to our house also. So, tractors are a big part of our lives. Growing up, I always wanted to own my own excavating business, so I did that. I didn't know Ashley at the time when I started that, but her grandfather owned an excavating business in Granby. This was one of his hats. R.W. Chase Excavating. And he was in Granby, did a lot of work around, and you're gonna get to learn a lot more about him here shortly. And this is probably the prelude into that. This is at the Grand Lake Cemetery. The Ainsleys and the Chases. Ashley will have to share a little bit more about that with you guys, because she has all the notes. But the little bit I know is if we play our cards right, we might be able to be with them up there too. There's about 6 spots left in that family plot right now. And if we do cremations, that means there's 12. That's part of my current job also. So, this is Bob. Papa Bob to Emery. That's Ash's grandfather. And Tracy Bird a few years ago in Kremling. And Bob used to sing, or was a part of a band, and he'd sing at all the guest ranches around. From Bar Lazy J, Sea Lazy U, all those. Ashley can elaborate on all this stuff, but essentially he grew up in Walden Hollow. Roughly 100 acres of the old Chase Ranch is now under the Granby Dam. 200 acres are under the Granby Dam, and about 100 and so are visible now, and as everybody knows it as Walden Hollow, right below Granby Dam. We'll get back to that, but here's Lake Granby. And more of I tried to put these in order, but I didn't do a great job. Like I said, we always like to be outside. So we have a surf boat. We like to surf. It's kind of taken the place of water skiing for me because water skiing is really hard on the body. I've broken ankle water skiing and everything. It's just hard. And you can only do it for about 15 minutes at most. This you can do for hours on end. That's our new house under construction. And what it looks like now. Kind of jumping all over the place. I thought I had them in better order, I apologize. So back to the Chases and Ainsleys. This is Kurt, Ashley's dad, and Emery's grandpa. They're on the stack wagon picking up hay. This was at their current kind of, call it a hobby ranch, if you will, that's right across from Strawberry Creek on Grand County Road 60, just out of Granby, right by Legacy Park. They bought that ranch in 84, 85 is when they bought that ranch. Bob and Emery He still plays music and giving her a little guitar lesson. And he's 86 years old now, 85. In 1 week, and this was last summer on the stack wagon also, picking up hay. He cuts it all. I think the boys rake it and bale it, and then depending on who's around, he picks it up. We beg them to let us help more, and I think it's gonna be one of those things, if he stops working, he will probably pass away, unfortunately, because he needs something to do and something to complain about. And he's always complaining about the hay and not having enough water and everything else. So these photos were at the Ainsley Ranch, which Ashley can elaborate on that also. This was a 400-acre ranch that they owned for over 100 years. It's the north property line of Lazy U is where this ranch is still located. It's still called the Ainsley Ranch, and it's now a wildlife preserve, I believe. It was almost a development by this guy Dennis Neal, and luckily it didn't work out for him. I'll let Ashley take over now.
I was getting excited to start talking about my family. So I am Ashley Chase. I did take Matt's last name, but I am very proud to say that I am the 5th generation Greene County resident. My great-great-grandfather, Benjamin L. Chase, who's buried here in Grand Lake, homesteaded in 1900 after he married my great-grandma in 1898. They homesteaded in Walden Hollow on 160 acres. And then through preemption, they gained another 160 acres. And that ranch was in our family for 59 years. So my great-great-grandfather, Benjamin Jr., ran the ranch with cattle, which he took yearling steers to the Denver Stock Show with my grandfather and my great uncle, and won 2nd and 3rd place in 1938 and 1940. And that's something that my grandfather Robert is very proud of. Their dad, Benjamin Jr., ended up with polio in 1949 and then passed in 1950. So my grandfather was a young teenager, or younger than a teenager, when his dad died, and he and his older brother had to take care of this ranch, the Chase Ranch, and they ended up selling it in 1959 because they were in debt from, I think, medical expenses from their dad. But something that they really tried to do at that ranch was raise high-grade cattle and also hay and sell that. So my grandfather's mother is Margaret, and she is the Ainsley side of this picture. So her family, they did not homestead in Granby, but they homesteaded. They came from England in 1898, and then they went to Canada, made their way to Montana, then North Dakota, where they raised horses for the cavalry, and then they moved to Granby and purchased a 320-acre ranch up 125 Trail Creek. And I think they bought the land in 1917 for $800. And then they had 3 children at the time when they purchased this land. Margaret is my grandfather's mom. But her brothers, Margaret's brothers, were my great-great-uncles, who I still remember to this day. And I was actually very close to. My great-great-uncle Palm was his name. So my 2 uncles ran this Ainsley Ranch, but one had to go off to war in World War II, while the other one stayed behind and took care of the ranch. And my uncle Palm, he called himself Palm, but his name was William. I don't know how that happened. But he went off to World War II and he trained at Camp Hale. And he was in the war for 3 years, 3 months, and 18 days. And he was part of the Pacific Theater and the European Theater. So he spent time in Germany and in Italy. And then he was, they called him a rifleman. My family also says sniper. I'm not sure if those are the same thing. But it was something that he was very proud of. He learned how to ski at Camp Hale, then he came home and built his own skis, and he would hunt coyotes to make a living around here. And he did that with Fritz McQuarrie. I don't know if any of you know that name, but the McQuarrie family is who the Ainsleys purchased their ranch from. So they're all kind of friends. My Uncle Palm passed away in 2000 when I was in 4th grade, and currently his uniform is at the Hot Sulphur Museum, along with his fiddle. He loved to play music, and he would record his music on tapes. And it was his wish to put his music in a time capsule, and with the stipulations that no one could open it for 100 years. So I hope that we can access that. Well, we don't know for sure where it's at. Well, we know where it's at, but he wanted it to be at the courthouse. I don't think it made its way there, but the instructions are still open it in 100 years, listen to it. So hopefully we can listen to tapes in 100 years. So my dad, my uncle, my brother, my sister, we all still live in Grand County. My sister lives in Kremling, my brother lives in Granby. We are the only ones in Grand Lake. We help my grandparents in Granby on their little 15-acre ranch as often as we possibly can. They mean the world to us. My dad was born in Grand Lake in 1966. And then my uncle was born in Kremling. So I met Matt in 2008, and I went off to college to Colorado Mesa University, and I have my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, and I am a clinic manager for Steamboat Orthopedic and Spine Institute in Fraser. And so I came back after getting my degree, and Matt proposed. We purchased our property, and then we built our house when Emery was a tiny little baby. I was working night shift so that I could work during the day, and it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my entire life. And then, yeah, I learned how to lay tile and help Matt lay logs, and he tried to teach me how to run a skid steer. Still not very good at that. And then our house, when it burned down, after living in it for 11 months, was actually the second hardest thing I've done, because building the first house was absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done. But here we are, and like Matt said, we really we had a ton of support from the community, and it was a terrible, beautiful thing. And we are so, so grateful. But
We're gonna do another one.
oh, yeah. So this magazine is Outdoor Life magazine from 1968, and that guy at the top is my great Uncle Palm, the one that was in World War II, and also the one that would hunt coyotes. In his obituary, it said he'd killed over 2,000 coyotes. So, and I think back then you really have to be good at shooting a gun. So yeah, this was pretty cool. He was a super positive guy, so he did play the fiddle. Yeah. The people on the left, that is my great-grandfather Benjamin Jr. with Margaret, and that's actually my great-uncle Jim, who I think Kaysen looks like my side of the family. Emery looks like Matt's. And then on the right is my great-grandfather Ben, shortly before he passed, I think. On the left again, that's my great-grandfather Ben and his oldest son Jim. And then on the right, the little boy closest, on the right, is my grandfather Bob Chase, and he's the one that still has 15 acres in Granby with his wife Joyce. The left is my grandfather Bob Chase with his uncles, my great-great-uncle Paul and Kenny, that own the Ainsley Ranch. And then on the right, that's my grandfather again playing the guitar. He's the one that taught Emery, or is trying to teach Emery still, how to play the guitar. The guy on the right is my great-great-uncle Palm. I'm not sure who's with him there. No.
It's a kayak.
Okay, yeah. Matt's gonna tell you some more about my family.
So this is Ashley's great uncle Jim. He has the house in Granby, right below the high school, kind of on the corner of Diamond and the Shortcut Road. It's closed up in the wintertime, white house with some old farm equipment in it. Anyhow, Jim is a very, very accomplished hunter. He's been published. The little house there, he has a trophy room, and it's about 3/4 of the house. And it's been published in Trophy Rooms magazine, Trophy Rooms and Trophy Rooms of Colorado. They're hardback edition Trophy Room books. They kind of cut it off here, but this is his. I took this picture this summer out of the current Boone and Crockett. This was his Yukon moose that he got that's hanging on the wall there. It was ranked 15th when he got it in '93. But I think it's somewhere in the 100. Score 230, no, that's how the moose scored. But it's still high enough that it's published in the book. He also has, in sheep and goats, there's Grand Slams and Great Grand Slams and stuff, and he's been, the last hunt that I knew that he went on was in Tamjikistan, where he got, I think it was the Marco Polo. Was the sheep he got there. It's absolutely incredible, his trophy room. And he also is a very accomplished archaeologist. He has stuff from Grand County that he's cast. He has the copies of the castings here, but it's in the Smithsonian.
What are those? What?
Arrowheads and
Arrowheads,
different artifacts, Indian artifacts. He still has places around the county, primarily over in Radium, that he likes to go now and do all this hunting and stuff. And last summer we actually saw him in town with the head of archaeology for CSU. They were up here doing a study on one of his sites. So he's got a lot of that kind of stuff. Is really cool. He found a bow tree is what they call it, and you can see where they cut the bow out of this chunk of wood that he mounted this summer in his house over there. He's just got a lot of really cool stuff, really cool stories. So that's Ashley's great-grandfather, or great-uncle. He had 5 kids. They all went to school up here. There's Jimmy and Stacy Chase for sure. I forget all their names. But Stacy was the one that I know the most. Her husband, Kermit, owns Stan Miller Excavating over in Breckenridge now, the two of them together on that. And they have their boys. They were up here this summer with us for Father's Day. Also photoed here, this is Jim and Bob. On the left, Bob is the shorter one, Jim is the taller one. This was in 2017, the 100th year anniversary of them owning the ranch, and they were Pioneers of the Year for Middle Park Fair and Rodeo.
That's great.
And that was the 100th anniversary of the Ainsley Ranch. And that's them photoed again. I don't know which one's which on the right. Probably the shorter one's Bob, yeah.
He's the younger one.
Yeah. Ashley talked about Kenny and knowing him, and that is Uncle Kenny. They called them the Gee Whiz Brothers around Granby. That's Ashley in the red hoodie there. And then actually Ashley's dad is in the purple shirt, Kurt. And I don't know, Kenny or Paul is in the plaid. I'm not sure if that almost looks like it could be your uncle, Terry, on the right. But
Oh, good.
I didn't know who these people were.
This is Benjamin Sr., so he's the one that homesteaded on Walden Hollow with Alma, and she was from Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
The end.